Every once in a while, we will discover a little mystery that makes us go, huh, didn't know that one. Such was the case while I was diving into the Mountain Eagle's archives looking for another murder mystery concerning Killing Rock. We'll get back to that murder mystery in a future episode. However, the information that we have gathered comes from the Mountain Eagle dated April 3rd, 2013, and from the Find a Grave website concerning Dr. George William Thornbury. We will start a playlist called Appalachian Cold Cases, and we'll add to it from time to time as we find other cold cases that grabs our attention. At this time, there is no available picture of Dr. Thornbury. All aboard the Kentucky-Tennessee Living Time Machine! Please fasten your seatbelts and keep your arms and legs inside of the vehicle at all times. But to get going, we need your help. We still need to fire up the time machine to transport us. Please help us by clicking on the like, subscribe, and bell notification buttons down below. Not only does this fire up the time machine, but it convinces YouTube that we need a bigger time machine to reach more people who love history as much as you do. Now, back to our story. Who was Dr. Thornbury? George William Thornbury was born on October 11, 1904, in Pike County, Kentucky. He was the son of M.Z. McClellan and Georgia Ann Dotson Thornbury. He had two siblings by the name of Tennessee Thornbury Dye, birth 1899 and death 1975, and Anna Thornbury, birth 1902 and death 1980. He is also survived by his wife Pearl C. Thornbury and two children who are not named. There is no available information as to what school he attended and when or for how long. We do know that at some point he got his medical license to become a dentist and had a practice in Fleming, Kentucky in 1941. According to the Mountain Eagle, he had been practicing dentistry in Letcher County for several years and was a handsome man and popular with the residents of Letcher County. We can also gather from the newspaper source that he was an active member of the Lonesome Pine Masonic Lodge as well as a member of the Pikeville Methodist Church. The crime scene. At only 36 years of age, Dr. Thornbury was discovered in his office shot to death. Quote, 3 bullets piercing his body near the heart and 2 in the temple of his head. Unquote. It seems that Dr. Thornbury had not been alone in his office, and his body was found, quote, lying half dressed on the floor of his dental office adjacent to the Fleming Hospital. Unquote. Let's put on our Sherlock Holmes hat, shall we? There are several possibilities as to why Dr. Thornbury was found in this state. Let's get the obvious out of the way. He could have been found in the act of Congress with another woman, and either his wife or her husband, boyfriend, or father shot him for it. But on that same thought, the person he was engaged in the affair with could have shot him for unknown reasons. He could have been shot for a political or other reason, and he was left in a half-dressed state to humiliate him in the eyes of the public. He could have been innocent of an affair, but the crime scene would have been staged to make it look like that he had been. All we know for certain is that his wife, Pearl, was not thought of as a suspect, and there was nothing to indicate in the article that they even investigated her for the crime. Which means she could have had a rock-solid alibi, even though we are not told what it was. Murder investigation. The acting Letcher County Sheriff in 2013, Danny Webb, made a statement to the Mountain Eagle. According to him, he thought that Thornbury murder case was handled by the sheriff's office at that time, as Kentucky State Police Agency was not created until July 1st, 1948, which was around 7 years after the murder took place. Before that point, the Kentucky State Police was known as the Kentucky Highway Patrol, but it did not have investigative powers to cover murder cases. There are no surviving records of the murder investigation or cold case files, and there is no record of Thornbury's death listed in the Kentucky State Office of Vital Statistics. We could not find any other newspaper or other documents. Reward information. The March 27, 1941 edition of the Mountain Eagle carried a front-page notice from M.Z. McClellan Thornbury, his father, that offered a reward of $1,000. In today's economy, it would have been $25,000 for information concerning the death of George. According to the newspaper source, the father stated that he had placed $850 of the money up himself, and it was being held at the Pikeville National Bank in the hands of A. O. Stump and Ann Thornbury. The Lonesome Pine Masonic Lodge added an additional $100, and the Kentucky Governor, King Johnson, added another $50 to the reward money. Funeral. The funeral was held at Pikeville Methodist Church with full Masonic rites. More than 1,300 people were in attendance, including 300 of whom were active Masons. Many of the attendees were from Letcher County. According to W. P. Nolan, editor of the paper, and his wife Martha, who were in attendance of the funeral, and quoted in the Mountain Eagle source, quote, "It was one of the most beautiful and impressive ceremonies ever to be seen in the mountains of Kentucky." Immediately following the funeral services, the body was accompanied by the Masons and friends to the cemetery overlooking Pikeville for the final resting place. At the grave, the Masons also conducted a beautiful and impressive ceremonies appropriate to a friend and brother, unquote. Nolan further states that he, quote, "sincerely hopes that the murderer or murderers will be caught and punished for this dreadful act," unquote. Dr. Thornbury is interred at the Pikeville Cemetery in Pikeville, Kentucky. Aftermath. According to the Mountain Eagle article, this story ran in the newspaper 4 times. These were in public notice advertisements as well as community correspondence columns. These notices were placed by Mrs. Pearl Thornbury, working as the administratrix of her husband's estate. She placed ads asking for anyone that owed her husband money for his dental services to please remit the money to the office of Dr. Skaggs in Fleming. As for the reward money, it never got to be collected as no information about the case was forthcoming. No one was ever arrested or charged for the murder of Dr. George William Thornbury. There is no longer an active or cold case as there is not enough evidence remaining to investigate the crime. Thank you. We at Kentucky Tennessee Living would like to thank you for watching our video series on the Appalachian cold cases. Don't forget to hit that like button, as the more likes we receive, the more likely YouTube is to suggest our videos to other viewers. Also, to receive notice when we upload a new video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell notification button. We thank you for continuing to support Kentucky Tennessee Living as we are discovering the mysteries of Appalachian history.